Peace and pugilism, fight fanatics. This is my Ron Magnus, and another segment of Boxing Logics United. Let me wipe this camera a little bit so I won't be all jacked up. All right. Good morning, and happy New Year's to all of you out there. I want to have a quick word with y'all on Gervonta Tank Davis. There's been a lot of things out there that's being said, of course, for Gervonta Davis and also against Gervonta Davis. And it was a few things on salute to Coach Malachi, who threw an amazing show the last 2 days. But I was a little rushed and couldn't able to say what I really wanted to say about Gervonta Davis. And then you got, of course, the millions inside your chat room that will say whatever, blase, just to cause a stir. Hit the like button for me, please. From a person who's never met, but let me start with this. From a person who's never met Gervonta Davis in my life, but knowing his history, knowing his life story, knowing where he came from, and where he is today, being somebody coming out of the foster care home program because he had a unstable household growing up with his parents. From this foster care home, from that foster care home, probably rarely having, say, girlfriends, a whole lot of them growing up, but being around a lot of negative influences in life and a lot of just things that can skew your perception of reality. Gervonta Tank Davis should get benefit of the doubt. A lot of us came through the situations of Gervonta Tank Davis. I see Gervonta Tank Davis as a young man that needs to be empathized and sympathized with, in a sense that he's in a sport where fisticuffs and violence is the way he make his money as a fighter, a boxer. And it should be understood that just because he make his money as a fighter doesn't make him an abuser to a woman, a child, or anything else, anybody else. Some of you came up in battered households. I came up in a battered household, but it wasn't between a man and a woman. My mom battered the shit out of me. You know what I'm saying? No man battered my mom. My mom had 4 brothers and all of them can fight quite well. Salute. Seen unseen. All my uncles were fighters and boxers. So no men would dare come up and ever put their hands on my mom for the most part. And the one time that did happen, you know what I mean, he had some serious problems and serious scars for trying to do something like that. But I came up in a battered household, meaning my mom beat the shit out of me, only because that's how black parents did to us kids. You feel me? Now, with that being said, and I know that sounds like that has nothing to do with the situation in hand, some people grew up in violent environments. You know what I'm saying? And they end up dealing with people, their significant other, their girlfriend, their wife, who came up in violent environments. And sometimes people do not know how to deal with a situation, okay? Or don't know how to receive love, don't know how to receive proper attention healthily without there being something disruptive in the situation. Some people get adjusted females and males to where they don't know how to deal with a situation, should I say, without screaming. A lot of us grew up in situations and in families that had poor communication skills, really poor communication skills. I mean, we don't know how to talk sensibly to each other, especially once emotions flare up. Okay? Tank Davis most likely came up in a lot of these environments. So when somebody's yelling at him, he's going to yell back. But that doesn't make him an abuser. And that does not make him not an abuser. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make you an abuser. That doesn't make me an abuser or not an abuser. Here's one thing I know. Floyd Mayweather had a domestic violence case, right? Now, do you think that was good publicity? I don't. Because Floyd also championed the phrase, you know what I mean? Any attention is good attention. Okay? And this is a bad phrase, a bad way of thinking, because I don't think boxing needs this type of attention. Gervonta Davis don't need this type of attention. We've let the abnormal become normal in our world. We've let the immoral become moral. We've let the unethical become ethical. Okay? And think that anything somebody wants to do is for clickbait is cool. Now, I believe in boxing, some cats use these type of things far as fake domestic violence cases, fake beefs, fake this and fake that. It's that as boxing, I believe, has used that as a practice behind the scenes to draw attention to a fighter, to a fight, to promote that, well, they're going to pay, they might not pay to see me win, but they'll pay to see me lose. That type of mentality. You know, Floyd started pushing that. You know what I'm saying? Well, people are paying to watch me lose. You know what I'm saying? They're not paying to see me win, but they're paying to see me lose. And that's true. But for somebody to pay to see you lose because they think you are an abuser, a thug, a woman beater, or this bullshit and this and that, I don't think nobody wants to promote a fight like that. I don't think nobody wants to be up in this joint and like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, try to promote a fight with a domestic violence case like Rolly Romero. All these domestic violence cases or accusers came up for Rolly Romero, and all of a sudden those accusers just dropped out the freaking earth. That just went out the window. So I say that to say, if you got cats in the behind the scenes that's using domestic violence cases to promote a fight, boxing's not going to go nowhere in the future. And it's going to be a bad cultural look on young black men in boxing to have that issue. You know what I mean? Because when, say, the Bone Crusher, Kovalev was having many accusations, all this and of this and of that, of whatever supposed accusations of, should I say, violence or assault and everything. Nobody just ran to the newspaper, ran to make a video all quick about it and all that. So I want to know is anything off limits? And I know I'm all over the place, but is anything off limits to talk about in boxing? Is anything off limits? Is everything cool to talk about? You know what I mean? I mean, in a dysfunctional, fucked up way. And to the cats in the chat, to the cats who like to comment, who don't have no faces up, you know what I mean? who you'll never see in your life? Is everything just cool to talk about? Is everything just, I mean, is there no morality in boxing? Since we like to call this a gentleman's sport. Is there no empathy at all? Is there any thought process taking place about, okay, this young man went through this. This young man came from this environment. This young man needs to develop more in this area of coping skills and coping ability. This young man probably didn't have a lot of girlfriends. Okay. So we know that since he's been raised in the public eye for almost half his life, you know what I mean, or a third of his life being Tank Davis, we know it's a target on him. You know what I'm saying? We know Tank Davis got temper issues and everything, but that doesn't make him an abuser. That doesn't exonerate him from anything he's done in the past, but it doesn't make him an abuser. It doesn't make him a monster. Okay? It doesn't make him a lot of things. Where is the morality in the YouTube boxing community? And I'm not even talking about the content creators. I'm talking about the cats in the chat and some content creators. Why is this clickbait? Why do we need to talk about domestic violence with fighters? Back in the day, these issues was kind of swept under the rug. But in our era right now, social media and content creation, we are desperate for views. You know what I'm saying? We are desperate for, we are paid to talk about the most negative. And we want to act like we're really not content creators. Some of you are not responsible content creators. Some of you are truly trash, bro. Some people are truly trash because you lack the ability to compartmentalize and put things in their proper perspective all the time. You lack the ability of putting yourself in another person's shoes. You lack the ability of really looking at a situation 360 degrees from all angles. You know what I'm saying? And you're really trash. Real talk. I'm not saying Tank did anything to this female. I'm not saying he did not. I'm saying we must be more responsible of mentioning all the possibilities that created a person named Tank Davis. And also understand all those things does not make him an abuser. And all those things need to be considered if the young man has an issue with handling particular situations. We need to be talking to Tank Davis on how to better handle particular situations, those who's close to him. And it's not even about he has to respect you. No, just give him the straight raw, okay? And give the people who follow you the straight honest business. Both ways of the situation, both sides of the coin. This is a very, very, very sensitive issue because we're not taking into consideration the human being named Gervonta Tank Davis and his flaws, okay? And the places where he's not good at versus the places that he really is good at. We're taking the things, people are quick to jump to use the things that something from the past of him yanking up his ex-girl by the neck collar. We'll misquote and say, well, he choked the girl. You know what I'm saying? We might say he's a repeat offender. We might say all this shit that's incorrect. That's wrong. He's not a repeat offender. He didn't choke the girl up by the neck out that seat at that basketball game a year ago. He pulled her by the neck collar. We are very, very, very unprofessional. I myself, in many cases of how we talk about these situations with Tank Davis or with any fighter, we're just willing to throw anything out there with not having our facts straight, our facts correct, especially on a serious and sensitive situation like this. A lot of people need to take in consideration their life growing up, their dispositions, their inability to cope with certain things, their inability, their lack of communication ability, skills in certain situations when they're angered. All these things you need to take into consideration, all the things, flaws that you have as a human being, as a person, and also apply that to Tank and say, don't give him, or don't say he has the excuses that you have, and his female, and his significant other. Tank and his significant other needs the same leadway that you give yourself. All right? When these type of situations come in your life, male or female, all men and all women need to look at that female and think of her situation, what she didn't have coming up. If we knew, perhaps the manipulative person he is, probably a manipulative person she is. And connect that to how manipulative you can perhaps be. Okay? And how manipulative you may not be. You need to take into account all the fucking things that go on in your life, your personal life, when nobody's looking, because there's no camera on you, but it's a camera on Tank Davis. And don't be a fucking asshole, all right? Don't be irresponsible what comes out of your mouth, and learn to empathize. Don't be the dickhead just to be the dickhead, just to try to get some attention inside the chat. Learn to empathize. Learn to try to understand the whole entire situation. Salute to many of the content creators that then jump to conclusions and wanted to wait for the facts to come out, more of it, if more do, before they actually jump to conclusions and just want to say a whole bunch of things that can put a stigma and a label on a young man that don't deserve it, and that young man being Tank Davis. A lot of y'all are trash, bro. And the boxing as a whole is not going to garnish the money it can garnish in the past. It won't garnish the public support. Boxing will not garnish the public support. It will never garnish the money it can garnish if we keep promoting the thug image. If you keep boxers and fighters going around with a whole bunch of chains around their neck, wearing a whole bunch of rings and all this bullshit of that. You know why? Because the majority public is not going to empathize and see those boxers as them. Boxing cannot just promote themselves to the hip-hop community. And I mean boxers as far as the black boxers, the black fighters. Boxers must be able to be recognized, okay, and duplicated by people from all cultures and all nations around the world to reach the money and status it did in the past. Anthony Joshua appealed to all cultures and nations. That's why Anthony Joshua makes the money. I know in boxing, they didn't want to play, you need a good guy and a bad guy. You need a thug and a corporate guy. Why do the black guy got to be the thug and the corporate guy? The PBC and many different things go along and pushing that shit. You feel me? So maybe they think that's a good thing to sell tickets. It's not, though, because you're only promoting yourself to a specific small demographic and a small constituents. Real talk, all fighters, for the most part, 90% of them, specifically black, need to look like a Sugar Ray Leonard, clean cut. They need to look like an Anthony Joshua, clean cut. They don't need to look like thugs. They don't need to look like hip hoppers. No fighter need to look like no hip hopper. No fighter need to be draped in chains and shit, GDD and all that. But then you ain't gonna have motherfuckers who fighters and fans who say you complain about money. They ain't gonna believe you because you all necked up in fucking jewelry and shit. They ain't gonna think you need no money. So they ain't gonna want to buy no pay-per-view. You know why? Because you don't look like them. You don't represent them in no way, shape, or form. People in the UK, people in Saudi Arabia, people in Africa, people all that. The motherfuckers you are promoting to, you look like, are broke. They wearing fake jewelry, fake necklaces, fake all that. Gervonta Davis need to be in a motherfucking suit. We wonder why Ryan Garcia is getting promotional deals that black fighters aren't getting. And we want to attest that strictly to race. When Caleb Plant, if he's to beat David Benavidez, he's the great white hope. But you ain't looking and realize how Caleb Plant is moving. He ain't trying to look like no thug. He's trying to be presentable to corporate America. The hip-hop image doesn't work for boxing. It don't work. You might have one or two cats that could pull that shit off. But for the majority of fighters out there, including Tank Davis, that shit don't work. Because there's too much negative imagery, negative stigma, negative thought connotations that go along with rap today. None of our fighters should look like hip-hop. All of our fighters, specifically black fighters, should speak with a good diction, if they can. Or at least attempt to be. They shouldn't be out there cursing in public. They shouldn't be out there saying nigga at all in public. No black fighter should be saying nigga in public. No black fighter should be saying bitches, swearing, cursing, or anything in public, Slim. None of you. Because as soon as you do that, you put yourself in a box. And that's a small constituent of hip-hop that they attest as bad and bougie. That they're going to test as fucking savage. Thugs. Hello. Just dumb shit. That they're going to label as violent. Because the rap is violent. The music is violent. So, with all of that being said, if you really love boxing, if you really want the best fights, okay, have our fighters completely change their image. I mean, totally. If you want us to appeal to people overseas, in all parts of the world, fighters, boxing, have all the black fighters change their image. You don't see none of the Hispanic fighters trying to look hip-hop. No. Trying to look street, trying to look thug. You don't see that with the Hispanic fighters. And this all connects to Gervonta Davis. Because our imagery, we are profiled by the way we present ourselves. Perception is reality. Okay? And the perception of Gervonta Tank Davis, okay, is that he's violent. Is that he is about the hip-hop life. Is that he's street. So when you couple all that negative imagery, negative stigmas, negative labels, which are false, in many and most cases, people still going to see that around the world, is that is somebody that we don't want to put representing our company, representing our brand, representing this or representing that. So that is not the way to get to the money. If endorsement people are not, if you're not friendly, public friendly, to put on a Coca-Cola or be in a Coca-Cola commercial, a Pepsi commercial, Gatorade, Under Armour, because your image is so fucked up because you want to look all thugged out. You want to be all jewelried out. You want to be this. You want to be that. You want to talk stupid. You want to sound like you from the street. No, because most of the people in the street, 85% of them got no money. So since you ain't going to even look like you want to promote and project yourself as successful, you're not going to be successful outside the ring. And you're going to open the doors for all these fucking other labels, stigmatisms, other thoughts that go along with that particular image to be applied to you as a fighter. And that's including you, Gervonta Tank Davis. Anytime in public, bro, look like Sugar Ray Leonard. Look clean. As I was saying with Ryan Garcia, you saw Ryan Garcia come to a fight in a fucking tuxedo. You know why? He was showing the whole world, I'm about business. I am professional. I'm about the most highest image, distinguished gentleman that I will promote all of that. I am that. I'm not from the street, or I'm not from the barrio. I don't have 9 kids, even though I may. You know what I mean? I'm against domestic violence. I'm for women's rights. Yo, the whole landscape of boxing, imagery of the fighters, and specifically the black fighters, who's mostly are the best fighters, need to change completely across the board. Our entire image, okay? And so I know that was long, and I know I talked about a lot of things besides Gervonta Tank Davis, but some of you cannot connect how all of these things connect directly and indirectly to one thing, to how the world look at black fighters or black people as a whole, or the black demographic that comes out of the hood. You could be from the hood, okay, but not have a hood mentality. You could come up from the hood and from the projects, from the worst beginnings of life, okay, homelessness and all of that, and that's not be what you project walking around the street. Black fighters are oftentimes, too often, projecting themselves as if they want to be thugs, as if they want to be gangsters, as if they want to be rap artists. And I don't think that is the way for boxing, okay? Not at all. And you need to understand that Gervonta Tank Davis, with everything he's good at in the ring, it's many things that he's not good at outside the ring, okay? And with the young man who's been flushed with a whole bunch of attention, a lot of money than he's ever seen in his life, that wasn't born with a stable household and given the coping skills and the ability, the disposition from his family directly to know how to handle these decisions. These things need to be all taken in factor that the young man is still developing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay? He may have had issues in the past with this girl, yanking her up because he don't want her in a particular vicinity as him and all that, but that don't make him an abuser. He's not a repeat offender, okay? And we need to take into consideration how we are talking about this issue and be overall responsible, okay? You don't have to, lower yourself and show who you truly are just to try to get as many views as you can about a situation. And I'm not saying exonerate Tank Davis from his flaws and from his irresponsible behavior in the past. What I am saying is take into consideration it be a positive support factor to help them go around the curb and turn that learning curve to become a person who do not put themselves in this situation at all in the future. so he could be productive, but don't have a label on him, a stigmatism that seemed to be on all young black fighters and black men that we saw Mike Tyson go through. And look how long it took him to come out of that situation, okay, to turn that curve. But it's still going to be people that label him, okay? We don't have to come out, we don't have to go through our life with having stain or having bad publicity and all that just to boost ourselves in the world. We could just change our image, okay? To be of positivity, to be of gentlemen, responsible men and women, and that have dignity, self-respect, morality, and just ethical across the board, that can speak properly without cursing and saying all that, talking to just promote ourselves to a specific demographic that don't have no money. No, Black American fighters and fighters overall need to just promote ourselves to the highest demographic, to the highest cast that got the money. And the highest cast that got the money aren't always, we know, ain't good people. All of them ain't good people. A lot of them are dirty, nasty, grangy criminals and all that. But they understand that they don't want to project that in front of the world. Why? Because they don't want to cut themselves from any money. And black fighters, the young black fighters, need to be instructed to do the same. This is Myron Magnus. I know I spoke for 30 minutes and I was all over the place. I'm going to chop this shit up and give a little bits and pieces later on. But understand that Tank Davis is not a perfect human being. And he's a young man still. Don't hold him to some standard that you're not holding yourself to. That's all I have to say. Peace to pugilism.